I think we should be able to have things working on YouTube too. Just give me, we're going to spend a couple of minutes just making sure that the tech is working. So Gil, Bob, and Ped and Tom, on YouTube, could you tell me if you can see my face, or are you still seeing the waiting screen with the funny music?
I can see your face.
You do? Okay. So we're good to go then. So those of you, I can't see that on my own end. I have it incognito, but I'll trust that it's working from your side. Hey, everyone. Good to see you. We are doing this live stream because today is a very special day. It is the launch of Scrimba's AI engineering path, or engineer path, whatever you want to call it, which is something that all the teachers and really the whole company has been working on very, very hard for many months now. And we're very excited to launch it now. And so the official launch was just a little bit earlier today, where emails went out. So you all should have gotten information about it. If you haven't, then we will make sure to leave it at the very end. But basically, you want to kind of just go to Scrimba on LinkedIn, X, or our website, and you'll be able to find it under courses. The engineer path is similar to the front-end path in that it is our second path, the first one to happen after our main front-end development path, which is kind of special. It is not as large, but it is definitely equally, if not more exciting. You can see the details about it on your own time, but the teachers that have been creating course content are here with us today, and that is Ped, Bob, Gil, and Tom, and me, of course. And the next hour we'll be spending together to try to give you a good idea of why is this even interesting for you, and is this something that you should spend your time on. And we have an agenda here, and I just want to give you a disclaimer. This is the very first time that I'm hosting a X Space and a YouTube live stream, both on the same day. So please expect things not to work 100% properly, but we'll make the best of it, of course. There are two different ways to consume this content right now. You could either do it on X, and if you're out and about on the subway or something like that, and you're on your way back from work, then you probably want to use X because it's much more, just focused on audio. But if you're at home, you probably want to be listening in through YouTube. And if you want to do that, you want to just go to our YouTube channel and start the stream there. You should see it on the main page. Why YouTube? Well, because you'll be able to see us. If we share anything with you, share screen, you'll be able to see that. And also, if you want to ask any questions, which we hope that there are lots of questions, you can do that on YouTube as well, much easier. And we won't actually be taking any questions from X because it's hard to do both at the same time. All right, so I hope that all made sense, and let's get started. Let's see here. So I have a little presentation thingy that I made, which I'm gonna put up here. Share screen, and let's do a window actually. There we go, and present window. Okay, can I ask all the Scrimba teachers to give me a sign if you can see a screen, Figma screen right now with a white.
I see it.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
All right, so just some introductions before we get into the good stuff. First of all, I'd like to apologize because Shah Rukh Khan was supposed to join us for the live stream, but he had to cancel last minute, so he won't be joining us. So sorry to disappoint those of you that were hoping for that. I know some of you asked me. But we have a whole team of people that are joining us today. Arya, actually, who's in the audience, I can see on X, had a great idea a couple of days ago that we were kind of like the AI Avengers. So we took that idea and made this graphic out of it. And so we'll be just using that to kind of, present the teachers. So let me start off with me very quickly. My name is Rafet Hoda, and I will be responsible for the solo projects in the course. There are 4 solo projects, which I'll talk about a little bit later, one for each module. So that's me. Let's now go to Gil. I'll put you on the screen, Gil.
Hey, yeah, loving the graphic, by the way. So yeah, I'm Gil, and I created content in the path for vector embeddings and vector databases and the new Assistance API that recently came out from OpenAI. So we can chat all about that today.
Thank you very much, Gil. Let's go to the next person, and that's Tom. I'll add you to the stage. There we go.
Hi. I don't think people can hear me on X, to be honest, because I'm not managing to connect, but maybe you can let me onto the X stage.
Now we can hear you. Yes. Sorry.
Okay, perfect.
I need to add you to the stage. There we go.
That's great. No, I just had a little bit of trouble there connecting. Oh, someone just said they can't hear me. Okay, cool. Okay, sounds good. So
yes,
cool.
You can
yeah.
You can go.
Okay, so yes, I'm Tom, and I have been working in the AI path for a few months, and have created the LangChain section and the initial module, which is all about setting up the OpenAI API and getting into just some of the basics of prompt engineering and really just kind of dipping toes in the water.
Okay, thank you so much, Tom. I want to ask just the people listening in on X, were you able to hear Tom when he was speaking? Can you give a thumbs up or an emoji? And if you couldn't, if you could go like a negative emoji. Because I'm seeing, okay, you couldn't hear. That's what I was thinking, because you are listed as, I think that's my bad. Is it working for you now, Tom? Is it? Is there a request for you to speak on stage?
I've made the request, but I'm still showing as a listener.
Okay, let me try that again then. Let's cancel that and invite to co-host. There we go. How about now?
Right now, it still says I'm a listener.
Should
I try and resend the request?
Yeah, if you could like log out of X and try to log in, we'll see if that works. And in the meantime, we'll go to the next person. Cool. So next person is Captain America, aka Bob Zerol. Let me add you, Bob. A quick introduction. That'd be great.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully this works. I've got this microphone feeding both my phone and the live stream here, so it's a little complex. I'm Bob Zerol. I have a section on AI agents in the new AI engineer path, and I've been with Scrimba for almost 3 years now. So yeah.
Great to have you, Bob. And then last one, of course, our leader, Per, will be, there we go. So I can't hear you, Per. I think you might need to unmute yourself.
I think I muted myself.
And also now? On X, I think you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, so can everyone hear me now? Hello. Hello. Okay, all good. Are we good?
Yes, we're good.
Cool, okay. Yeah, I am. So I'm Per, co-founder and CEO here at Scrimba, and also one of the teachers. I have worked on kind of the overall path with every teacher on every module, but and have contributed with a few scrims here and there. So trying to keep a good overview over the AI engineering space.
Okay, that's everyone. Okay, so the question we want to start with is what is this engineering path? So we want to cover that. And so let's see. Who wants to go on stage and explain what AI engineering is? Any teacher wants to go?
Sure, I can do that. So yeah, AI engineering is a pretty new field. It has kind of had it's in the beginning stages of becoming a big field, I think. And most people think AI engineering is about developing models and developing algorithms and training AI models and large language models and stuff like that. But that's not what it's about. AI engineering is much more of a practically focused role. It is using these AI APIs to build new products. So you might have seen, for example, products like Copy AI or Jasper AI, who help you with writing blog posts. That is a very good example of AI engineering. Or you might have seen Notion implement AI into their app, or Copilot from GitHub. All of these are examples of creating novel products and novel solutions through these new APIs that have appeared over the last couple of years.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Let's see if I... yeah, I've been also educating myself on what it is, because I was the one who kind of joined in on this whole thing much later. So I've been talking to everyone basically who's been creating the course content, and that's Gil, Tom, and Bob. Pierre has content there too, but it's intro and some other things. I also have very little content. It's solo projects. The bulk of the course is taught by Tom, Gil, and Bob. And I was talking to them and trying to understand what it is. And I was kind of thinking initially, I was a little bit skeptical, to be honest, because I wanted to make sure that it was something that was actually useful, because, you know, we've been hearing about AI, and I don't know how much everyone is using AI tools, but a lot of it can be hype versus actual usefulness. And I was pretty fast convinced that it's actually something that is very useful. That was right after talking to Gil when he was talking about vector embeddings. I looked at some of his code, he was explaining it to me, and you can immediately see the usefulness of it. So we hope that during this stream that we can kind of convey that to you, so you can see exactly how this applies to your life and how you can use the AI engineer path to learn things so that you can actually start building apps and projects that are actually very much helpful and, you know, has a real world application to it. So let's look at the agenda that we have here. Of course, we want to take questions and things like that a little bit later. Let me actually have the chat open too on the right side so we can see as things are coming in. Oh, there's so many people that have commented. That's great to see everyone there. I'm going to try to keep an eye on that as people are asking questions as we go on, but just keep writing comments. And if there's anything with the sound or anything like that, or any problems, let us know there too, so we can fix that as we go. So I think we've answered what AI engineering is. Let's go to the different teachers, and so they can quickly say what their part of the course or path covers. So you get a good overview of what we're talking about. And then after that, we can go a little bit deeper into asking questions. And so as you're speaking, I'll try to jump in and ask some questions. And then if the audience has questions too, I'll keep an eye on that. Okay, I hope we're good with that. So why don't we start with, I think Pierre already did a good introduction to things. I think we can start with Gil or who should we actually start with? Who comes first in the path?
So first would be Tom, then, and then Gil, and then Bob.
Tom then. So Tom, yes. What are we starting to learn about in the path?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think I've now connected properly to the X space. So hopefully someone can just give me a thumbs up on X that they can hear me, or maybe not.
It doesn't
says-
show. It doesn't
says
show
I'm
that you're
connected.
speaking on X.
Oh, really?
It says you're a speaker, but it doesn't show the little waveform.
Oh,
Let's start you then, Bob, and then Tom can try and fix that. And in the meantime,
Sounds good.
So I think I might be the reason for the echo because I've got my soundboard controlling two different outputs. So maybe somebody tell me now if I've got my hand like a piano octave trying to turn off both mics at the same time. This might not be worth it. So sorry. So you want me to talk about my section in the career path? Is that right? Okay. So
Yes, please.
yeah, I cover AI agents, and agents are super cool. It kind of seems like most of the AI that I'm seeing these days is trending towards becoming an agent. And I think the ultimate goal for a lot of people in AI is to reach AGI, which is general intelligence, artificial general intelligence. So essentially the same level of intelligence and capabilities as a human. And the agents are kind of a step towards that. Essentially, it allows your assistant to loop over or iterate over a problem and until it solves it, and it has access to its environment via external tools. So if you imagine in the future a chat GPT where you could say, prepare a trip to Hawaii, prepare my next vacation for me. And it doesn't just give you an itinerary, but it also tells you the weather. It tells you the best dates for travel. It books tickets for you. It, makes reservations to dinner and a hotel. Like it just does everything. I wouldn't be surprised in the future if we see that in our everyday lives. And that's essentially what agents do.
Thank you so much, Bob, for that. I'm really excited about agents because we had a talk not long ago. You were helping me out with a solo project that we wanted to create. And it's just so cool when you get into it because it might sound simple that you're kind of, using tools to get a task completed. But when you look at the code and actually get your hands dirty with it, you can really see how powerful it will be because it really changes the way that you think about creating an app, really, I think. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Bob, that this might change things in the future in terms of how apps were created now and before? How would you say this can potentially change how apps are looking like in a year or so when this has started to get, people have started to use this and we're seeing new apps?
Yeah, I think it's sometimes when it's a green field like this, it's a little bit tough to know how people are going to invent new things and come up with cool new ways to use new tech. So I have a hard time predicting it in a year because I'm not one of the machine learning engineers that can kind of see where the field is going. But I think it will continue to disrupt our lives, kind of like, I mean, if you think ChatGPT is a strange phenomenon because it's just an app. It's like an app that people have, but it has completely changed the way that industry is working and the way that people work, their productivity levels, all kinds of stuff. So I think the idea of agents, especially as they have some guardrails placed on them. It seems like right now OpenAI is hesitant to fully release AGI because of the possible ramifications it could have on the world, and so they're kind of placing these guardrails up, and so who knows like how quickly or slowly it will progress, and there's probably going to be laws and regulations that are starting to be an interesting topic in the world across every country. So yeah, I think things are going to change, and I think it's going to be a big part of the discussion.
That's such a great point. I love that you answered that, because I think that's the only honest answer, is that we don't know exactly how it will change. If you look at how websites worked back, in the day, and how, Web 2.0 and 3.0 came much later, you're only able to see it when it actually happens. ChatGPT was a great example too, because it came out like barely a year ago, I think. And I don't know about you all. Actually, send in a comment or react with an emoji on X if you use ChatGPT at least once a day. Put in a comment there if you do. Good to see how many use it a day. I do, certainly. Do you all? How often do you use ChatGPT, Bob? Are you using it pretty much every day, every week?
Yeah, every day for sure.
Yeah. Same thing here. It's really changed the way that I do work. It certainly made it much easier, more enjoyable to do. Thank you for that, Bob. Let's go to the next teacher. Tom, are we good on your side? So we can hand it over to you.
I have the same problem. I'm not managing to connect to Twitter at all.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I got a request here from you. Now you're a speaker there?
Okay. Now, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes.
You can hear me on Twitter. I'm still not getting the lines or the dots next to my name.
I can at least hear you. Can the other people react if you can hear? Yes, they can hear you too. I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then we're good. Perfect.
Yes. So what are you teaching?
Okay, yeah. Cool. That's a massive relief just to be able to get into this thing. So stressful. Right. So I start off with module 1 of the AI path. And in module 1, this is where we kind of start from the basics of the OpenAI API. So OpenAI is most people's introduction to the world of AI, and the API that they've produced is nothing short of amazing. It allows you to do so many cool things really, really easily. So we start off with text generation. And text generation with AI is as easy as just asking for what you want. You can have it produce poetry or write essays or what, literally any text you need. What we're actually doing in that project is we're taking a load of stock price data. We're taking 3 days worth of stock price data and getting it to write a report based on that data and make recommendations based on that data. And it's all for fun. This is not serious financial advice, but it's just kind of showing how you can just dump a load of numbers into the OpenAI API and it will actually produce human quality output. But while we're doing that, we get into various settings. So when it comes to prompt engineering, you have to think about not just literally what you write in the prompt, which is basically just asking for what you want, but you need to think about other settings such as the temperature, and the temperature controls how conservative or how daring the output will be. So if you're looking for a straightforward piece of knowledge, for example, you want to keep the temperature nice and low. You don't want the model getting kind of fancy ideas about how creative it can be. Whereas if you want it to be creative, if you want it to be wacky, if you want it to start doing some sort of strange things, then you need to perhaps raise the temperature a little bit, and you're going to start seeing more, what can you say? Yeah, more daring output. So there's various settings like that we look at. We look at frequency penalty, which is where you can, and presence penalty. They kind of go together. Frequency and presence penalties, they stop the output from getting too repetitive if that becomes a problem. But we also look at various techniques. And I think one really, really interesting one is the few shot approach. And that is where you give the model a couple of examples of what you're looking for. And then the model can actually use those examples to produce content which is closer to what you're looking for. And that's something that's really cool because, as we all know, sometimes it's better to show and not tell, or to show as well as tell. And it can be quite hard to describe what you want to create. But it might be much easier to show what you want to create. So that's one of the techniques we look at. But we also look at the kind of the sort of basic foundations of AI. We talk about tokens and models and what some of the options available to you are. And we also have a quick look at image generation as well, which most people probably will have seen the DALL-E interface that was and is now just incorporated into ChatGPT, where you can just create a load of pretty cool images really, really quickly and easily. So yeah, we have a look at how we can use that in an API, generate images for apps as well. I also come back in module 4, but I don't know, should we talk about module 4 later?
Yes, I think so. Thank you so much for that, Tom. So I was also talking to Tom, and there is a solo project that we also have for you in the intro, which is a translation app, actually. I don't know how many of you are language learners, or trying to be at least. Maybe you use Duolingo or something like that, but using AI and something that actually Tom teaches you in the very beginning, with not that much deep knowledge, you can already create something that can be very useful, which is it's called Polyglot, poly being a parrot. And you can create a translation app that you can write down what you want to translate from English, and then you can convert it to another language. And then you can also turn it into a kind of a chat app almost as a stretch goal. So, look forward to that, because I think that's a really fun one. Thank you so much, Tom. I think we had some questions for you. The one that I remember is that Michael was wondering if you're wearing the new Scrimba logo hoodie. Could you show us that, perhaps? Is it that one, or is it a different one?
It's not the new one. It's the old one, I'm afraid.
It's the old one.
Yeah,
okay.
I haven't got my hands on a new one yet. I've got the hat, I've got the bag, I've got the T-shirt, I've got the stickers, but I haven't got a hoodie yet.
All right.
But hopefully
nice.
soon.
I have that one too. Okay, thank you for that. Let's now go to, so we've done Bob and Tom. Let's go to Gil, actually, with embeddings.
Hey. Yeah, so the embeddings module is, I believe, the third module in the path, and it's where things start to get a little bit technical. So Tom talked a little bit about like using generative models, chat completions endpoint, for example. And if you use like a generative model like ChatGPT, it's only going to reply to you based on data it was trained on, right? And as you might know, ChatGPT has a cutoff date. Like I think they recently updated it to like, what was it? January 2023, I believe. So it's only going to reply to you based on the data it's trained on. But oftentimes, so let's say you're building a chatbot or you have a support bot on your website, and you needed to respond to your customers, based on domain-specific information, like, the Scrimba Bootcamp, for example, which is one of the examples Tom has in his course. So you need a way to provide a model that information, and then use that to form a response to the user. Now, the thing is that like AIs, they don't understand, the world and language and words and phrases like humans do. So that's where embeddings come in, and it's a concept in AI and natural language processing where data like text, images, and audio is embedded or transformed into a numerical format that AI can then understand and process. So the course covers text embeddings, which is the most common kind, and it uses OpenAI's text embeddings model. And what that does is basically takes content from a document, like a PDF or a text file, and then from that document, you use a process that's called chunking. So you split that up into small chunks, and then from those chunks, you run each chunk through the model, and then you turn them into a vector embedding. And each of those vectors, essentially, the model is highly trained on language and words and phrases. So it captures the essence and all the potential meanings of a word, into a high dimensional vector array. And so imagine an array with 1,536 items in it, and each of those numbers in the array captures some essence of a word, let's say dog or man's best friend. And the model, that's how it can understand what these words are that you're feeding it, if you will. So yeah, and then you need somewhere to store them. So that's where vector databases come in. So the course uses Supabase with an extension called pgvector. So once you create embeddings from all that data, you store them in a database. And then from there, the database uses this idea of similarity search, where if a user has a question, let's say you're asking it like, what is the Scrimba bootcamp, for example? It's not going to understand that, but the similarity search is going to find a vector that kind of resembles the essence of that, and then return a matching text chunk. And then that is then fed to another model. There's a lot of moving parts to this. It's then fed to a generative model that can then form a conversational response. And I know I might be getting too in the weeds here, technically, but there's this idea of a concept called RAG. I don't know if some of you may have heard of it, but that is where you are using data retrieved from a vector database, and then you're running that through a generative model to help form a conversation with like the AI and the user. So all of that happens via embeddings and vector databases. And the course itself covers a few simple examples where we start out with a simple array of maybe 10 strings, and then we create embeddings from those. And you can see like what exactly is happening, like how a string translates into a vector. And then those get stored in the vector database. And then you kind of go through how those get retrieved and then are used to form responses. So yeah. So if it sounds a little bit scary, don't worry. The course does a pretty good job of just walking through all those details. And then at the end, you build this sort of proof of concept for a chatbot, where you take a long movies.txt file, so a text file full of movies data that at the time of the recording, ChatGPT, for example, hasn't been formally trained on. So it's using that as its knowledge base, and then it's going to interact with you based on questions from that knowledge base, right? So that's, if you've seen companies where like you can upload your PDF and legal documents and have essentially conversations with it or get up to speed on the details of that. That's how it's done. It's done with embeddings. And companies like Spotify, for example, have used it extensively to improve their podcast search, their music recommendation system, for example. And it's a lot of it is being done through this process of embeddings. And the course kind of starts off just walking you through how embeddings are used in the real world and how they've been leveraged by these companies, Netflix, Spotify, for example. So yeah, and later we can talk more about the assistance API, but that kind of, that was a bit of a game changer. It took a lot of the RAG steps basically off our plate and then baked it all into this API that we can get into shortly. But yeah, that's the essence of embeddings and vector databases.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gil, for that. I can tell you that when I was talking to Gil, it was a series of mind equals blown GIFs, basically playing in my brain. Gil does an amazing job in the beginning of his course, giving you all the math that you need to understand to really understand what's going on under the hood. I think you show first Spotify, right? And then you share actually show a little bit of math in the Scrim, which you can really look forward to. I don't think we'll go much deeper into that, but it's really cool when you get to see it. And you can also see how actually it understands that something like, cat and dog are similar things because of, reasons, while something like, I don't know, Brad Pitt is very different from that, right? It doesn't actually understand anything about our culture or human beings, but the math does calculations and it figures that out anyway. Pretty amazing. So Gil goes through all of that. It's really, really cool. You can look forward to that. I think that's everyone then, right? Tom has another module at the end, right? The LangChain one. Maybe we should quickly cover that, and then we'll be coming up on 45 minutes. And then I think at the end, we should open it up for discussions and questions, which people have been asking already. But if you had a question, we probably missed it. I'm sorry. So just write it again in the chat. Not yet, though. Wait until Tom is done, and then let's do all the questions, an avalanche of questions at the end, and we'll just see which ones are similar, and we'll pick the ones that we think are the most relevant for everyone. Okay, Tom, over to you.
Okay, yeah. So the last module, as things stand, and I did miss a bit at the beginning with connection problems, but it's probably already been said that we will be definitely adding to this AI engineer path as new things become available. But as things stand, the final module is on using LangChain. And for people who haven't come across LangChain, LangChain is basically an AI first framework. So it's trying to kind of lessen the workload, basically take common tasks and just reduce them down so you've got the tools needed to spin up apps really quickly. And what's really interesting about what Gil was just saying is that in the LangChain module, we basically do the same thing, but using LangChain. So we're using we're creating an app where we've got some text. We've got 3,000 words of text, and we are creating a chatbot that can answer questions on that text. And it is very, very effective. So very similar process to what Gil described, splitting up the text into chunks, and we're storing things in vector stores, and going through that process using LangChain tools, which do simplify things a lot. I say that with slight hesitation because there is a learning curve involved with LangChain. I think LangChain is a really, really cool framework, but there are definitely things that you need to just, spend a little bit of time with, just become accustomed to. And once you've done that, I think the second project you make with LangChain is going to be very, very quick indeed, because you'll just have a load of tools at your disposal, basically. But certain things like splitting up text into chunks and creating embeddings from those chunks of text is very, very quick in LangChain. It's a very, very smooth process. It's also a process that gives you a lot of control. And that does, I think, make it better than doing it in a purely DIY way of just writing the JavaScript yourself to do it. There are things to do with breaking up the text in ways that mean you don't actually miss any content. So you're working with overlaps. So you're not going to have very sudden breaks in the chunks of text if the text doesn't naturally fall into paragraphs of approximately the right size, for example. So what LangChain basically does is it gives you tools to create these quite powerful AI apps. And the chain in LangChain is basically about chaining them all together. So they just work in a sort of a flowing motion, so that each stage returns something and passes that on to the next stage. So it just goes down the chain until it's done. Quite a lot that you can do with LangChain, and I think quite a lot coming up in the future to do with LangChain. But at the moment, that is what we've got in the engineering path.
Awesome. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. That actually covers everything. I believe all of the material added up, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't it 7.5 or 8 hours?
Yeah, it's closing up to 8 hours in total.
Nice. Okay.
And we had a couple of questions here in the chat actually regarding the path as a whole. So should I touch upon that?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, cool. So so for those of you who find it a little bit difficult to perhaps get an overview over this path, it's 6 modules long, and we're starting off with just the basics, as Tom talked about, like core things you need to know about, and that evolves around the OpenAI API, because that is the most important API in AI engineering these days. Though we also think open source is just as important to learn. So right after the first module, we're going to dive into open source models using Hugging Face. Because as you saw a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you noticed, but ChatGPT was down for a while, and thousands of apps online as a consequence were down. So relying on one vendor is risky. You should learn how to have backups, and also it's a lot cheaper to use open source models. So if you take the time to learn them, you're going to get the payoff later. So that's the start of the path. Once you've done all of that, we dive into the specifics, which is RAG, as Gil talked about, giving the apps specific knowledge so that you can, for example, create internal apps for your company or personalized apps for yourself or whatever that ChatGPT or the LLM doesn't know about. And then we do agents with Bob so that they can come alive and take actions in the world. So that's like, once you have that, you are ahead of 99% of web developers out there in terms of their AI skills. But we from there, we also layer on top like a last minute module from Gil on the assistance API, which is kind of the hottest thing OpenAI has to offer these days. And as Tom said, ending it all with LangChain.js to kind of put your skills on steroids so that you can run a lot faster. So that's a quick summary.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Just kind of summarizing everything. I actually wasn't even aware of that last module with Gil. Things are moving so fast that it's hard to keep up. Case in point, the last weekend, if you know, you know, I'll just say that. So we actually are exactly at the 45-minute point. So well done us. We got through everything, even though there were some technical issues. So I think I'll just spend a little tiny bit of time going through some solo projects that you'll build. And then we can open it up for questions and discussions and all that. So you can start asking your questions again in the chat on YouTube. And I'll ask all the teachers to just keep an eye on that for me, please. And pick up any questions that we want to answer in just a little bit. And let me just tell you a little bit about the solo projects, which I think is pretty exciting. So we start off with Tom's module, kind of getting our hands, dirty with the AI stuff. And as I said earlier, we'll be building a simple language assistant app, basically, that can help you learn language. You can make it exactly as you want. So if you're learning Spanish versus Hindi or whatever it is, you can do any language, basically. And that's pretty simple. You can put it on your phone, open it up, and you go in there and you put in what you want to translate. You pick the language and you press a button, it translates it, and it also has the original text. And then for stretch goals, you can make it so that you can kind of keep having conversations with it like you would with ChatGPT, actually. So that's the first one. That one is called Polyglot. The second one is, I believe, Gil's module. That's a fun one. As a movie lover, that is where you'll be making an app called Pop Choice. I don't know about you guys, but it's very confusing when you have movie night with family and friends or by yourself. Which movie should you watch? Has anyone been in that situation? Like, there's a million options out there on Netflix and Hulu and whatever else you have in your country. You get confused. So this app, you just open it up, you answer a couple of questions. What type of mood are you in? Fun or something serious? Do you want to feel inspired? You get the idea, right? And if there are more people in the around you, you can hand over the app to them and they can answer the same questions. It will take 2 seconds and take all that data and use that exciting embeddings and vector math that Gil talked about, and then give you back the perfect movie for everyone to watch, taking all of the data. So that's number 2. The third one is Bob's module on agents, and that is actually on you creating your own travel agent. Travel agents used to be a thing back in the day, not so much anymore. But now with AI, if you're going on a trip with someone or by yourself, you can just answer a couple of questions again in a simple form, click a button. It's going to figure out, how's the weather where you're going, which flight should you book, which hotel should you stay at. Now, is it actually going to do all those things and actually let you book all of that? Oof, not quite, but it's pretty close. It's kind of a proof of concept, and so we do cover how it would be built. So at least the weather API is something that you can actually use in it to see how it works. But with everything else, turns out it's a little bit more complicated when you want to use a flights API or hotels API. You have to sign up, you have to pay the money and all that, and we can't expect you to do that. But you will get the idea on how something like that could be built if you have the resources for that. So that's third. The last one is Tom's module, and my favorite for LangChain. That is where you will be making your own personal assistant. If you've seen Iron Man or the Avengers, you know that Iron Man has his Jarvis, who knows everything, is an AI assistant, right? You'll be building your own version of that. And you'll be able to use OpenAI API, or any other ones to get all that data, but you also have your own personal data, right? When is your doctor's appointment? What do you do on Fridays at 12 o'clock? All that good stuff that is only private to you. You can feed it that information very easily. I show you how to do that. And, or rather, Tom shows you how to do that. I just refer to it. And you can build your own thing, which you can put on your phone, and it's going to look pretty damn neat. You can have it on your home screen, and you can use it as an AI assistant. That one is actually pretty real. You can get very real world application from that, which is pretty cool without too much work. And there are some exciting stretch goals there as well. That's all I had to do, or all I had to work on for the solo projects. I hope at least some of those sounded exciting. Let us know in the comments or the X space if it did, with a thumbs up or something like that. And that's all we had on our side planned on the agenda. So now we'll open it up for questions. So do we have any?
I've seen a couple. Seen a couple here, Rafid. We can just jump in here.
Yeah. Oh.
People asking about open source. You can hear me? Yeah. So 2 people asking about open source, or I think it was Shant asking about that module, and Edvard asking about Hugging Face. And so both of them are actually essentially asking the same thing. So the open source module takes you through Hugging Face. And what is Hugging Face? Well, it is the easiest way to describe it is GitHub for AI. So this is a platform where big companies like Google, Facebook, even OpenAI go to share their open source models. And what's so cool is that it's just as easy to take any of those models and interact with them just as you would via the OpenAI API. So you can actually be at the forefront of open source AI if you just kind of lurk a little bit around on Hugging Face and play around with the new models. It's actually not that hard to be ahead of the game and try these models that you see from month to month get like loads of buzz on Twitter. And also on Hugging Face, you can deploy your mini projects there if you want to. And you can also actually train models and do all kinds of like deeper level stuff. But that's not for the AI engineer. That's for the AI researchers. But hopefully that gives an indicator or an introduction. And I would recommend anyone here, if you are or want to be an AI engineer, you gotta have an account on Hugging Face. It's like you can't be a web developer without having an account on GitHub. As easy as that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy. I don't have an account on Hugging Face, so I better get on that too. Anyone else who has any questions? I see that we're answering some questions in the chat on YouTube as well. Anything important that we should bring up? Just jump in. Also, something that has already been answered in the comments that need to be maybe shared with people on X as well.
So
Did you already talk about the assistance API?
Briefly, but we should talk about it again.
There's some questions about embeddings and using this in like a real world scenario, so I thought that could be cool.
Yeah, I can chat about that. So yeah, so it's been maybe 2 weeks since actually on Dev Day, when OpenAI announced a new assistance API, which empowers us in quite simple way to build more customized assistants and tools that are tailored to specific knowledge sources. Basically, everything I just talked about earlier about embeddings and vector databases and that whole RAG approach, it kind of rolls all that up into this API, and it makes it very simple to upload files, retrieve information from files, and use that to create conversational responses and use domain specific information very easily with just that API. And you can also use it to write and run code. You can use it to create data visualizations. You can has this code interpreter tool that can help you solve challenging math problems, programming problems. You can upload it a CSV file, and the code interpreter tool of the assistance API can help you make sense of it, and you can create graphs from it. It also has this knowledge retrieval tool, which when you specify it, it can pull in outside knowledge. So you can upload up to 20 PDFs, I think, at the moment, or text files, and any sort of file out from outside of the what the model was trained on. And it also has function calling. So Bob talked about agents. So the function calling aspect of the assistance API can make your bot or your AI powered tool act more like an agent, because you can describe custom functions that the assistant can then run, and then use the results from that function to address needs, and it lets you communicate as well with external tools and APIs. So yeah, it's fascinating, because that whole process of chunking a file, creating embeddings from it, uploading it to a vector database, and then retrieving it, all that is automatically done for you by the API. And it basically takes care of more than half of the RAG process for you. And it's still in beta, so there's a lot of work being done there, and it's still evolving. And I don't think RAG might not be going away anytime soon, but we're gonna, obviously keep a close eye on what's happening there, so we can keep that course, that module up to date, and bring you more projects and expand the module as we learn more, as the assistance API evolves, and hopefully, add more related to the function calling and code interpreter aspects, because right now it's more just a knowledge retrieval that I cover in my course. So yeah, it's a very exciting API.
Just to add to that, I think you touched upon it. You're not seeing RAG going away anytime soon. Though when the Assistance API was launched by OpenAI, there was like a bunch of doomers in terms of who said like goodbye RAG and goodbye LangChain and goodbye so many companies. And I've actually like lately talked to a couple of companies that do AI engineering and asked them this, like, now that this option is here, do you think you're going to skip your vector databases? And they've all said no. It's even though you can upload a file, you don't get the same flexibility as you do with a vector database. You don't get the same control. You get a lot more costs. So there's still, for those of you who are thinking, why should I just bother going through your module, Gil, when I can jump on the Assistance API? I would say that's not the right way to think about it. You do need those underlying skills in the industry as well. So what I would do today, I would probably start hacking with the assistance API to quickly get something up and running, and then move my way down the stack as I kind of build and ready for scale and for launch and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting to live during these times, because you finish recording a module and then you see that, oh, okay, they just made it super easy. All right. So we're trying to keep up with that, of course, but we only know as much as you know, and as you can see, things are happening pretty fast. Thank you so much, everyone. I think we have about 2 minutes left on the hour, so I think we should start closing up. Thank you, everyone, for joining, every single one of you, and thank you so much for those of you that asked all those questions. I would like to ask everyone who still has questions that didn't get answered to continue the conversation on X, or formerly known as Twitter, as we always have to say. Tag Scrimba, tag me, tag Gil, tag Tom, tag Bob, tag Per, and ask us questions that you have, and we will get to those. I'll spend a little bit of time afterwards answering some of those questions if I have the answer to that. And if I don't, I'll just forward it to the rest of the team so we can keep this energy going. That's it from us. That's all we had. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope it was time well spent. At the very end, I would like to say that if you want to get started on this, maybe spend a little bit of time afterwards, just even 5 minutes, renewing your Scrimba subscription if you have paused it, or getting it for the first time if you haven't, because this is the perfect time to do it, and start just looking up a couple of scrims. Even if you don't start coding right away, just look at Per's intro scrim or Gil's intro, some of the solo projects. Get excited, and then weekend is coming up soon. You'll have plenty of stuff to do there if you want to continue. We really hope that you like the engineer path, and we're obviously always looking for feedback. So if you have any for us, feel free to reach out to all of us on all of the socials, especially LinkedIn and X, with anything. And that's it for us. So do you have any closing comments, guys, or are we good?
I just have to answer that question I said I was going to answer in the chat. We didn't get time for it, but I'll do it quickly. Well, someone asked, I'm in the middle of the career path. Should I jump over to the AI engineer path? Short answer, you should complete module 9, which is the async JavaScript module that Bob teaches. You need that. No reason to try to jump over before that module. You can technically do it at that point, though I would recommend you to also learn React so that you have a framework to build these solo projects that Rafid talked about in. So yeah, that's the quick answer. Can do it from module 9, but I recommend you to go all the way and then jump over. And with that, thank you everyone for coming. It was great to chat.
Yes, absolutely. Have a great evening or morning wherever you are. And good luck with the AI engineer path.
Thanks, everyone.
See everyone.
Thanks, everybody.